Hey everyone, this is Jesse Richardson at Shipping School, and today we're going to go through a crash course on how to bring your retail business or brick and mortar store online. A little bit about us. My name's Jesse. I've got a background in subscription commerce, e-commerce, and online content creation. Over the last decade, I've shipped just hundreds of thousands of packages, everything from big freight stuff to B2C, normal customer orders. Um, and Shipping School is a free educational resource. It's a really great way to just learn more about shipping, whether you're a consumer or whether you're a business. Lots of great content written for shippers, by shippers, straight to the point. It has everything to do with kind of regulations around shipping different things to just how to get the best postage rates, and how to really take advantage of a lot of the programs that are out there and resources that are out there that most people don't know about. I encourage you to go to shippingschool.com during this webinar, bookmark it, join the Facebook group. There's a great Facebook group online that you can go and ask questions in. It's just called Shipping School. If you've got questions and you want to kind of do some Q&A with other business owners, or you're a consumer and you're just trying to learn something, it's a really great community to go and just ask those questions and to get some help. And then Shipping School itself, of course, has a lot of great guides and questions and just news about the shipping industry. Most of the time, people can kind of think that shipping's kind of boring, right? But there's a lot of really interesting stuff that goes into shipping, and a lot of things that you can do as a business owner to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the resources and programs that are available. So you're saving money, and you're bolstering your bottom line, but also you're doing things the best, most efficient, and accurate way. And that's what you can find on Shipping School. So, kind of going back into it. Today, we're going to cover a lot of different stuff in a really kind of highlighted fashion. I want to give you a good overview of just some of the basic steps that you should be taking if you are a brick and mortar store owner and you haven't yet expanded online. Obviously, right now, in the current kind of uh, retail landscape with COVID-19, a lot of places and a lot of states having stay-at-home orders, and only essential businesses being allowed to be open. That may or may not mean that you're able to be open. Maybe you're open sometimes, maybe you just reduced your hours, or maybe you're totally closed. No matter what the case, even if you still have your normal hours, now's a really good time to look to online to increase your sales, grow that new sales channel, and kind of give yourself a little bit of backup if you are seeing any dip in sales there. Whether you've started online before or not, there's a lot of good information in this webinar that I think could help you, either optimizing your site or just kind of getting it to the finish line if you've started but didn't quite get it totally completed. And again, this is going to be kind of an abbreviated, kind of highlighted version of this. There's a lot of detail that goes into this and a lot of optimization that you can do over time, but I just want to make it simple, straight to the point for some of these kind of core steps in bringing your brick and mortar store to the online world. So what does this mean exactly? Number one, we're going to look at launching a website, and that's going to be your platform for sales. This is something that you've definitely been on before if you've shopped online. That we're going to look at some basic branding and kind of online retail experience concepts, things that you can do really simply to bring your retail business's physical personality onto the digital realm. We're going to look at online customer service and why that's so important, and how you can do it very quickly and easily without wasting a ton of your time. And then we're going to go into shipping and inventory management, some kind of key considerations that we're going to touch on not only in the beginning but also at the end when it comes to how are you making sure inventory is syncing in the right places, and how are you making sure that the connection between your store and your online store is very seamless. And at the very end, we're going to talk a little bit about growth. Obviously, if you're just launching online for the first time, you've got a lot of new opportunity that can seem at first a little daunting, but if you can get your hands around some simple strategies, you can really start to grow your online sales, which can really bolster your retail store's revenue, which is obviously really great, especially now more than ever. So let's jump right into it. First step here is to get yourself online. There's a couple basic things I just want to point out. This is kind of starting off at very, very square one type information. But if you haven't done this already, make sure you do this basically as soon as you can. The number one thing is get a custom domain. You don't want to be using your business name some website provider.com. It's best if you just have your business name.com. You can get a custom domain very, very easily. You can go to something like GoDaddy or Namecheap or whoever you want to buy a domain from. Really, you can choose whoever you'd like. To get this domain, it kind of just gives your retail business and your brand really a little bit more authenticity to shoppers. When people see these kind of truncated domain names or domains that are still using like the Shopify URL, it doesn't necessarily always dissuade everybody, but there's always going to be that little bit of friction that's created to an online shopper who says, this business doesn't quite seem too big or too legit. I don't know if I want to shop with them. So it's a super simple, really affordable way to kind of build in some online trust, which is going to be a theme that we talk about a lot during this webinar. So I really suggest just doing it right off the bat. It's going to cost you, $15 for a year or something. It's really not that big of an expense and adds a lot of value to your business. Also, once you get the domain set up, you can also then set up a custom email. This could be something like hello@yourbusinessname.com or customer support or whatever type of email function you want that to take. It gives customers then a very official place to go and either ask questions, or maybe wholesalers or distributors can email your wholesale email address. It kind of gives you an opportunity to kind of segment some of your communication that you're getting from online shoppers, and also again kind of add a little bit more of that authenticity and trust. That your customers are emailing in at help@yourbusinessname.com. It looks great to them, and it gives you a little bit more of that officialness to your online store, which can be very helpful for online shoppers and trust. Similarly, you want to secure all your social media channels. Now, you might not be able to get the exact Instagram handle that you want. Your Facebook page URL might be a little bit differently, but those things are less important than just having the pages up. Get them up, get an image on there, make some posts on them, create a little bit of personality on those channels. By doing that, customers will also know that you are accessible in different places. A lot of customers nowadays, they like to reach out through Facebook pages or Instagram or direct messages on Twitter, and having the ability to take those messages on those channels is really great for you, because you can respond very quickly because it's attached right to your phone. But also for shoppers, it's another place that they can contact you, which adds more of that trust factor. If I was shopping at a business and I didn't see a Facebook, an Instagram, a Twitter, or any social media profiles at all, it'd kind of be a little bit weird. And then of course too, with some marketing and some growth considerations there, having these social channels can be really useful, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit later. So you've got your domain, you've got your email. What's the very first thing you need to do to actually get going online? It's going to be choosing your platform. So the platform is where your website is being hosted, and it's giving you the ability to actually offer a checkout for your customers and for your shoppers. There's a lot of different things that you can do online to choose a platform. If you're currently a retailer and you're using a POS system in store that is working great for you, that's the number one consideration I'd point out to first before anything else. And the reason why is because you want to have a nice seamless connection between your brick and mortar store and your online store. So what I really mean there is, when you decide where you're hosting your website, you're going to be deciding where you're hosting your inventory counts, where you're going to be tracking sales and customer orders, and you want that to be very clear in relation to what's actually in your store, so you're not selling things online that you actually need to be shipping out through your store, or if you sell something in your store, it's being marked as sold out online. So ask yourself, what POS system am I using? Depending on your POS system, you might already be using something that works better with one of these platforms than another. So for example, Shopify has its own POS. If you've been using that, Shopify would be the platform you want to build your website on, because it's going to already have that connection. If you're using Squarespace, or if you're using BigCommerce or something like that, those are have their own POSs and they have their own platforms. So you want to use the same platform for your online store as those systems. Similarly, if you're using something kind of specific just for brick and mortar stores that maybe doesn't have an online platform option, you might want to be looking at something like WordPress plus a plugin. So for example, kind of going down this list, WordPress is a very dynamic content management system. There's a plugin called WooCommerce, which is the most popular e-commerce plugin probably in the world. The nice thing about WooCommerce is that it integrates with a lot of different services. So whether you're using ShopKeep, for example, or you're using Square, or whatever your POS system, it's very likely that it's going to integrate with WooCommerce through a plugin. That's not the same, for example, as if you're using Square, but you want to use Shopify. Shopify doesn't directly integrate with Square. So if you've been using Square in your store, Shopify might not be the best choice just because they're not going to make it easy for you to connect those two systems together. So when you're thinking about, what am I going for? Things like BigCommerce and Shopify are these fully hosted options, right? They've got the online store functionality. They've got a POS system. It's everything that you need is kind of in that one option. WordPress plus a plugin like WooCommerce um, means you've got two different kind of providers for your website. WordPress as the platform, and WooCommerce as the group that's going to help you with checkout and inventory management. It's it can be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more demanding tech wise, but it can be the best long term option for you. Especially if you are really digging into online and you want to be producing content and um, maybe publishing blog posts. It can be a little bit more competitive in that sense, but again, it can be a little bit more demanding tech-wise. The main headline, I guess, for each of these is that they can be built and launched relatively quickly. Uh, the key of doing this is just making sure it's simple. You don't need to build out a whole blog and content channel on your WordPress if you're just trying to get sales up right now because your retail's taking a hit. Simplify it. There's really easy ways for you just to get online really quickly, start capturing those sales, start reaching out to your customers and letting them know that there's still a way for them to get their favorite items from you. And of course, I just want to make a quick little mention here too that there's other marketplaces that are very fast to start on too, such as Etsy. These marketplace type of channels can be a little bit more expensive. You've got your processing fees, you've got their fees as well. There can be listing fees for these different things. So those marketplaces aren't always suggested if you A, are going to be spending a lot of time online, and B, are going to be making the leap to your own website anyways. They're not a bad extra sales channel, but like I said, they've got a little bit more fees and a little bit more costs associated with them. So they're not recommended to be your cornerstone type of store online. Maybe just an extra sales channel. So really quickly, let's just take a look at some of these. I want to show you how WordPress looks and how Shopify looks. I've got two just example backends that we can look at. This first one is WordPress. So you can see here it's got a lot of information right on the dashboard. But if you kind of navigate towards the left side here, you can see how WordPress is set up. And WordPress is set up mainly around content and content management. So on the left, you see posts, media, pages, comments, and that's really kind of the kind of core structure to WordPress. It's a really great content platform. But by adding plugins like WooCommerce, for example, you can quickly add a whole store element to your WordPress site. WooCommerce is not only is it very easy to kind of get going on, but it's also got a huge community online that if you've got questions about things, it's a really great kind of widely used platform that a lot of people can help you with, which is a great consideration for WordPress and WooCommerce. So with something like WooCommerce, it's very easy to get up and get going. Just kind of popping into the settings section of WooCommerce, for example, you can set up your products, your taxes, your shipping. You can set up your payment provider. That's going to be your processing solution, whether you're using Square or your current POS system that you use in store, or maybe you're setting up something new like PayPal or Stripe or something like that. WooCommerce basically integrates with everybody. So no matter what, you can probably find a plugin to enable you to use that other POS system, even if it's not natively showing up on this list for you. So do a little bit of poking around and you might be able to find a really quick, easy way to integrate your store. You can manage emails from WooCommerce. These are like your order notifications or your shipping notifications. It's really easy to export your orders, do some analysis on. It connects with other services like MailChimp. And there's a whole wholesale and kind of bulk distribution ordering series of additional plugins through WooCommerce, which are really nice if you are your own brand and you want to make it easy for wholesale partners to just come online and place their bulk orders through your website. That's another cool feature that's pretty easy to set up on WooCommerce as well. Outside of just kind of the basic setup, they offer reporting. So if you're just looking at what products you're selling or how much money you're doing over a certain period, WooCommerce has a whole report section that's really great to use. And the other cool thing too about WordPress is there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of build on top of your site. So whereas certain platforms might be a little bit more limited in how much customization you can do, WordPress really allows a lot of customization. So whether you're building in, giveaway plugins or store locator plugins, or something like that, it's a pretty quick and easy way for you to find some great kind of features that you want to have that are important to your store and your brand and add them onto WordPress. It's very, very simple to do with WordPress. Again, it can be a little bit more taxing tech savviness wise. You kind of need to know a little bit more about what you're doing. But once you kind of got like the ground feel for it, it's not a super complicated platform. In contrast, you've got Shopify, which is even easier than WordPress. If I go, for example, and I look just like on the online store builder through Shopify, their themes and their building ability of products and pages and checkout is so streamlined. I mean, you can definitely get a whole website set up and launched and selling within a day, which is going to be a little bit harder to do on WordPress. The thing though about Shopify is they've got their own POS system. So if you're using something like Square or Shopkeep or something, you might not be able to get it as easily integrated in your Shopify store because they don't want to allow another system to be using their platform. They want to push you towards their own POS, which makes sense. So you might have a little bit more kind of technical issues when it comes to that. But the nice thing is the actual website creation is very, very, very quick. You can use their free basic minimal theme, which is what we can see on the screen here, and really quickly pull in a product and add your content and type things in a drag and drop type of format, which is obviously really great if you don't have a lot of time to spend on design or resources to spend on design and development. Shopify does use its own development language, unlike WordPress. So you might have to find some specialized kind of Shopify developers, but Shopify is so popular these days that's not going to be hard for you to find. But in terms of the back end, it's very simple. You can quickly find your orders. You can mark them as fulfilled. You can print labels directly from Shopify. You can look at analytics. You can build in a bunch of different apps and run discounts and promotions and have little hello bars. Shopify is a great tool that you can get set up with really quickly. And I just wanted to kind of show you, just as a quick example, the differences between the backends. WordPress, it's a little bit heavier. There's a lot of stuff going on. Shopify is a little bit more streamlined, but both of them have different pros and cons and different limitations based on what you need them for. Choosing your platform, again, biggest consideration is what's your POS system and who's it going to integrate with quickly and easily. I think that's the number one thing that you should be focusing on, because you've got a whole store built on that system already, and you really don't want to be going back and forth and kind of having to sync up those inventories or be missing things or having customers order stuff that's already out of stock. So I would say that's my first consideration suggestion for you. The second being, well, what do I have the budget and the time and the technical ability to do? Because both are relatively simple with a little bit of time YouTubing it and maybe getting a developer involved. So the second thing, once you've got your website platform figured out, now you know what you're building on, now you've got to create an online retail experience. So the way to think about an online retail experience from a design perspective is not very different from the way you're thinking about a retail experience in the physical real world. Here's an example. Which store would you rather go into? Would you like to go into the Angelica supermarket, or would you like to go to Club Monaco? I tried to choose two storefronts that were like kind of similar looking, like with a brick overlay behind them and like kind of a similar, like they could be on the same city block type of feel, just to kind of give you a sense of the difference of kind of consumer appeal. And I think, if you're looking at these two things, assuming that they're selling the same type of things inside the store, I think you'd probably want to go to the store on the right more. It looks like it's got a cleaner design. It's got a very clean brand that's popping out. Of course, this little supermarket store looks like a different type of store than Club Monaco does, which looks like it's some type of clothing and retail store. But again, just the initial visual appeal. Club Monaco's brand, for example, it's clean. It looks like it was freshly added to the building. The supermarket store is fading. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's letters missing from certain parts of the sign. It just is a little bit less appealing, right? And you don't want your online store to have that same type of issue. When people hit your store right in the beginning, you want to look great because when they're shopping online, they're able to walk out of your store even faster than in normal kind of the real world. So you want to make sure you grab them with a great visual right in the beginning, and it feels like your brand. It's not something that's going to feel completely removed from your retail store. So when you're creating this experience, try to mirror your actual store with your online store. You want to create a sense of cohesion around what your brand already shows people in the real world. And the great thing about this is you've done a lot of the hardest work of web design, and from my perspective, because you've already got a store built. So I suggest designing your site around your store, the colors, the imagery, the browsability of your current store and how you have things set up in your store and your kind of your floor plan. You can take a lot of that stuff onto your online store. This also goes into emails and the customer service places where you're helping people, your email confirmations, your tracking emails, your support emails. All of those things can be branded similar to your online store with colors and imagery and such to kind of create that sense of, you know, Jesse's Boutique is still helping me with this problem. I feel like I'm there with the customer service people. And of course, it also goes on to social media as well. Your profile images, your posts, your promotions. Create that cohesion through every point of content so your customers and your shoppers, whether they're new shoppers who just found you online or your long-time customers who used to go inside your store, they feel like they're still there. The main thing to remember is that your web design has already been established. Just bring your physical store into the digital store life. You've done so much work already building that brand, and now you just need to communicate that brand in another medium. And I want to show you an example of that, one that I really loved. This is a website for Pistol's Nursery. Pistol's Nursery here in Oregon is a really cool little plant shop. It's one of my favorite plant shops in the city. And what I loved about their online store is they've really captured a lot of the same essence of their storefront online. And I think they did it in some really cool, kind of intuitive ways. And they didn't use like too much over designing in their store. Like this isn't some big super custom like web theme that they've spent $10,000 designing or something like that. It looks like it could be any basic minimal theme on WordPress or Shopify, which I thought was a good example of why you don't need to go hire some big crazy web design and development firm to get your website up. So if you take a look at the left, you can see Pistol Storefront, and then also a shot from inside their store as you're like kind of walking around and you're shopping. So just on the front, the top left image, they've carried that to their homepage, I think, in a really nice way. Number one, you get this nice "Welcome to Pistol's Nursery" is their headline on their website. In the bottom right corner of that top right image, you can see this kind of green kind of color. That's actually from like a leaf, kind of a monstera leaf they have in the bottom right of their website. I couldn't capture the whole thing on the screenshot, but the color that they used for that was so close to the color that they use on their actual storefront. I thought it was a really nice way of bringing in that feeling from their store onto their online store. And for me as a customer, I immediately recognized it. And then also for me as an online shopper, it just kind of immediately made me feel like I knew where I was. A big green monstera leaf. I get a really good sense of this is a plant shop. And then also when you look at, for example, the bottom left image, just kind of going and walking around the shop, how they have their floor plan, they've kind of got it set up online in a similar way. Their categories, when you go to the buy button on their website, it's very clear. We've got our plant section, we've got our for your plant section, we've got a living with your plants section, which is like books and kind of like different gear. And then they have like a Pistols Nursery special section that's gift cards and other type of things you might find near the register. So they really quickly um, looked at their floor plan, kind of seen where the most important plants are, and what kind of category makes sense for laying those things out. And that's shown in their category section on the bottom right picture. It's separated not only for their plants, but for all the other things in their store as well, from their planters to their books to their gift cards. It's kind of come through in this really nice fashion where when I look at the menu on their online store, it feels like I'm walking through their store. The first thing I'm seeing is the plants. That's the first thing that they want me to buy, are the big expensive plants, right? Now that I've got my plants, what's the next thing I need to do? Oh, I better get a new planter for my plants. That's great. Now I've got my new planters, like my sweet terracotta pots or whatever it is. What else do I need here in the store? I don't really know how do I take care of this fiddle leaf. Well, now here are the books. And I love this experience so much, so I'm going to buy a gift card for my friend. So they've kind of walked through the whole uh, brick and mortar experience. And I think they carry that over to the website in a nice way because it follows the same type of decision making and same type of what do I see first, what do I see last in their menus that I think captures that same concept really nicely. And they didn't have to think through all that again. They've already set this up on their store, so it was probably relatively easy for them to come up with what do we want to show first on our website. Um, some steps to kind of some more tips to just work through while you're thinking about design is that many of the same retail kind of cues and concepts you've used can also be used online. So we just talked about some of this, but just to kind of rattle it off, website navigation. When you're deciding your menu and you're deciding what am I showing my online shoppers first, think of your floor plan. Where do you lead shoppers? What's the first thing you want them to buy? What's the thing that you want them to think about after they've made that first purchase? How are you kind of curating their experience in the store, and how can you mirror that online? Also, homepage banner. There's gonna be all these different terms you see when you're creating your website that are very similar to concepts you're already using in your store. A homepage banner is kind of like your principal display. If you've got a beautiful display in your store, I would honestly almost take a picture of that and use that as your homepage banner. So in that top picture, they see a display about what your season's style is, or about the best 10 gifts for Mother's Day, or whatever you have kind of set up in your store right now that you really want to sell a lot of. Make that your homepage banner. Make your side ads and your side images those secondary and tertiary things that you want them to check out in the store. So while they're browsing, they can kind of see those same things as well, just like you would have them see them in your store. Your web design and your brand colors and your brand kind of deck, if you hear that a lot. These are going to be your paints and color tones that you're already using, the textures that you're using in your store, the general kind of layout and the general type of interior design of your store can also be carried through web design. If there's like a lot of big open white space, use a lot of big open white space in your store. The idea is that many elements of your retail store can easily carry over to your online store. Just identify what you use and then leverage those elements in your web design. If you're lucky enough to be working with a web designer who's local for you, then maybe have them come into your store and check that stuff out. I mean, that's the palette from which they should paint their web design from. And the one thing I'm going to just express here again is that when you're starting out, just find a theme on WordPress or Shopify or BigCommerce or whoever you decide to use that is easily kind of customized and can easily fit what you're looking for. Don't worry too much about making it exactly perfect. You're like, well, I use a wood texture, so I want to have a wooden background on my website or something. Don't worry about making it a completely perfect until you've had the time to really devote to that good web design. If you're just using a basic minimal theme and you're just kind of plugging in some colors and plugging in a couple images, that works. I mean, the goal here is not necessarily to make a perfect online store. It's to make an online store so you can just drive a little bit of traffic and capture some of your sales you might be losing at this time. So don't overcomplicate it. Start out simple, choose something minimal, and apply your design, and then perfect it over time. So you've got your platform, you've built your online store. The next thing I want you to really focus on is customer experience. So anybody who's ever worked in retail, you know that customer experience is one of the best things that you can experience, or one of those difficult things that you can experience. When someone's dealing with a return or an exchange or a broken product, you have a lot of power to control how happy they're going to be with your response to those issues. The one thing I want to point out about customer experience, and this doesn't just apply to online, I think this applies to any store, whether you're brick and mortar or whatever. It's not about the products that you're selling, it's about the service that you're selling. This is why Amazon has this, mythic status for support. Is even if I, have a question in the middle of the night, or my delivery didn't get there and I'm just really upset, I can fire away an email to Amazon support. Almost instantly I get a response, and almost every single time Amazon is going to decide on the side of your customer. So they're going to send a replacement out. They're going to give them a refund. They're going to do whatever they need to do to make sure the customer's happy. And online shoppers love Amazon because of this, because they know that they can trust Amazon's service to always take care of them no matter what. So there's two things from this. Number one, you're competing with Amazon when you're online, almost certainly. So you've got to compete with that type of ethos that they've built. Number two, I think that they're right. That's the right ethos. Online shopping is growing, but you've got to instill trust. And you've got to have shoppers know that no matter what, they're going to be taken care of when they shop on your store. You're there to help them. You're not just there to make money from them. They're your customers. You've got to really, really care about them. So I kind of have two steps to doing this. Number one is to build a company culture around customer experience. I kind of have these three kind of tenets a part of that. Make the commitment. The commitment is I'm going to give my customers the best experience possible. I'm going to make it a really fun shopping experience for them. Two, make it easy. If they need to do refunds or exchanges, or they're trying to track their shipping, or whatever it is they're trying to do, make the barrier to entry as low as possible to do that. It's just going to be something that people are going to expect nowadays. And a lot of those types of options for tracking your order are almost, certainly easy to set up on whatever platform you chose from step one. Number three, make it fast. And we're going to talk about shipping a little bit later too. But when it comes to product delivery, when it comes to customer support response times, shipping times, you've got to make it as quick as possible, because that's what online shoppers expect these days. Most people are shipping out within a day or two of getting an order, and most products are getting there within a couple days. That's just the reality of it, and you've got to make sure that your business is competitive in that same sense. So if you have a company culture that says, I'm going to make sure that customers are super happy, I'm going to make it easy for them to get what they want, and I'm going to make it very quick for them to have this experience, you're going to set yourself up for success in customer happiness. The second step is to then enable yourself to do these things really easily. Obviously, making that commitment and making it easy and making it fast is only going to be as good for you as you allow yourself for it to be. So, for example, making it fast, making customer responses fast, don't just use an email inbox. Use a tool like Zendesk or Intercom or other customer support tools. They can make it so much quicker for you, and I'll show you a little bit more about this in the next slide. Give people the ability to use self-service tools to generate tracking, or to one click to go to find their USPS tracking link, to cancel their order if they're within the right time, to request a receipt. Trying to give them as many self-service tools like that as possible, because if I don't have to email you to update my shipping address, then that's going to be great. I'd rather just do that than even try to email you, because I'm going to get worried about, well, did they get it in time? Will the order go out? If it goes out, do I get a refund? What's going to happen? You can also use a lot of things like push notifications on like Facebook pages, and different apps that you can use for customer support, which means that when that person messages, it goes straight to your phone. Little buzz happens in your pocket. You can immediately pick up your phone, fix that problem for somebody. Obviously, you've got a business to run, but having that quick push notification type of approach to it is really great, and customers really respond to it in a great way. The main kind of bottom line for this section is that support doesn't need to be hard. It doesn't got to be this big, time-intensive, complicated task where you're sitting there and you're answering emails 6 hours out of every single day. No matter how tech-savvy you are, customer support should be relatively fast and relatively streamlined in 2020. There are so many great tools to use that can really speed up how you do this. For example, I know this image isn't too big, but I want to just kind of give you a quick rundown on what these things look like. This is Zendesk, and you can see here a series of different tickets, as they call them. Zendesk is basically a skin for your inbox. So this is just being pulled directly from our customer service inbox for an online business that I'm working on right now. It immediately pulls in, so when someone emails us at the support channel, it gets pulled right into Zendesk automatically. I can segment the different emails that are coming in based on different views. So for example, if I want to say, I want to see all tickets related to refunds, I can really quickly sort them all based on that. I can see, it could be based on a phrase in the email itself. It could be based on some other parameters that I decide. Here's all the emails from over 1 day that haven't been replied to yet. So older tickets. I can really quickly see which tickets got a low rating from a customer. Maybe a customer, voted the customer support as bad when they received it, so I can go quickly see those tickets and reach back out and say, hey, how can we do better? Um, so views are really, really useful for streamlining what you're going to be working on. Zendesk and Intercom and all these different systems also offer something called macros, which is basically like a predetermined prompt for something. So, for example, I always use a shipping time macro that explains how shipping works for our store. I always use a kind of short explanation about some of the top benefits and why people use the products. Whenever we do promotions or we have special coupon codes, I'll make macros explaining how that coupon code works. Maybe, for example, we're doing a Mother's Day promotion and it's free shipping on orders over $50 with this code. I'll make a macro that says, hey, if you want to use this code, here are kind of the rules for the code. It's over $50. It's free shipping for US-based shippers or US-based addresses. And instead of me having to type that 15, 20, 30 times when customers are emailing in about it, I can just really quickly click that macro and have that whole thing written out for me. Maybe I do a little bit of customization to make it specific for Priscilla or whoever's asking about it, but it saves me a lot of time typing. Other cool thing about these systems is if you have a customer who's emailed you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, which if you have been doing online sales or at least email customer support for your store, you probably had some people like this before. These types of platforms make it really easy to identify those multiple emails and merge them all into a single email, which is great because then you're not emailing the same person 3, 4, 5, 6 times. You can also use these platforms really quickly with almost any online platform. So if you are using Zendesk, for example, and you want to connect it to someone's Shopify account, or you want to connect it to someone's their account on your actual website, chances are you can set up an integration like that. That's nice because in the email from Priscilla, I can see quickly, here's her open orders, here's her tracking information. So all within one platform, I've got her recent orders, I've got her tracking information, I can see the email that she's asking about, and I can get all that information all from one screen. I don't got to go clicking around. So the integration that some of these things offer with other platforms is really powerful and can save you also a lot of time. Also, there's a lot of data tracking and reporting that you can use on these types of platforms. So how many emails do we get? How many emails were about refunds? How many emails were about broken items? All of that can be tracked through these. And you can also assign these different requests to specific team members or to different sales associates. And the last thing I want to mention is that a lot of these offer like a little web widget. So on your website itself, you can have a little bit widget that pops up in the bottom right corner that says, hey, do you need help? And then people can quickly email you or chat with you or even call you. So there's a lot of really great reasons to use a customer support tool like this. It's going to save you a lot of time, and it's just not going to cost that much money. I think Zendesk costs around $59 for an entire Zendesk professional suite, and there's even cheaper versions than that. And for $50 to save several hours of your time a month is obviously invaluable. So you've got your platform. You've made a beautiful online retail store. You're taking care of your customers really well. What's the next thing that you should really be thinking about? Operations and shipping. So I mentioned this earlier in the first step of it, but your online store should be as buttoned up as your retail store. And the best way to do that is to make sure that your POS is integrated with your online store. Syncing your inventory, I think, is going to be the most important thing for you to be doing, and making sure that there's a clear connection between the two, because that's going to save you so much time in terms of manually updating if they're not synced, and then also saving you time and saving customers time if they're ordering things that are no longer available. So very first thing for perfecting your operations, make sure you're integrated with your store. So when you're checking people out on your Square app in store, it's deducting that inventory from your Square app on WordPress. You should also be using some smart shipping tools. ShipStation, the purchases that you can make in apps through Shopify or whoever you're using, Pirate Ship, these shipping tools are going to save you a ton of money. It's insane the amount of money that you can save using shipping tools instead of retail prices. It's like 90% less expensive just by buying these things online. So if you already haven't been using shipping tools, even for your brick and mortar, you've got to start doing it right now. You're going to save yourself a bunch of money, and you're going to save yourself a bunch of time too. Because a lot of these things, like for example, Pirate Ship, I love Pirate Ship because we ship everything in big batches. Pirate Ship makes it very easy for me to take 100 orders from one day that are all shipped in the same type of box, print all those labels at once. That's going to save me and my shipping team literally hours of work. So you definitely want to be doing um, a, a shipping program that enables you and your store and your product types to get products out in the mail as quickly as you can. And also just simplify your work. A lot of these tools that you can use for shipping, you can make package presets. You can ship them in batches, like I just mentioned, through your online store system, whether that's WooCommerce or Shopify or whatever it is. You can set up stock reminders. You can get daily sales summaries sent to your email. That's really useful because you can stay on top of inventory ordering, and you can stay on top of when your promotions should start and end. At the same time, if you are still open and you can still be open at this time, setting up curbside pickup or a will call is really easy to set up in WooCommerce or Shopify. Usually these are just shipping rules is what they call them. So people can choose that shipping rule at checkout, and then the whole order process is exactly the same. And as soon as you're ready for them to come pick it up, you can mark that as ready, and they can come and just come into your store, or you can run it out to them if they prefer the no contact. So perfecting operations and shipping is really crucial. I just want to show you some kind of examples about why shipping and operations are so important to optimize. So first off, optimizing means choosing the right partner. So who to ship with. I always say the USPS, and I think it's a very easy demonstration on why USPS is always the best option. Really quickly though, here's just a couple notes about each carrier. Really quick too, this slide and the next slide were both borrowed from our Shipping 101 webinar, which is about shipping in general. So if this type of information is a little bit more what you're looking for, or you want to learn more about it now, I suggest you go check out Rocky's webinar on Shipping 101. A lot of really good information on there, and a lot more detailed information about shipping, about carrier rates and package types and that type of thing. So really quickly, USPS, you've obviously seen the trucks all over. Everybody knows what USPS is. I think it's the premier carrier for e-commerce packages. They've got affordable rates. They've got quick delivery. They are the only ones who can deliver to every single address in the United States. I think they just offer so many competitive advantages for e-commerce stores that it really makes sense to probably use USPS. I would say 90 to 95% of the time. Now, for other things, oversized shipments, big heavy boxes, emergency deliveries, UPS can be really great for that. For my online store, we do a lot of big wholesale and distribution orders. UPS just gives us better rates for that. Those are obviously a small portion of our total shipments, but even for those, 10% of shipments or so a month, we still want to be getting the best rates. And UPS can really save money against the USPS when it comes to those big, oversized, heavy packages. FedEx is also really great for business deliveries. They also have a bunch of really niche type of parcels that they can help with: frozen food, prepackaged meals, that type of thing. If you've got special kind of business related deliveries, FedEx might have some competitive advantages there. But again, I think overall USPS is always going to be the best choice. And let's just do a quick comparison. So if I was to ship a 5-pound box, for example, in a 12 by 8 by 4 from LA to Seattle, and I wanted to get there, on Thursday, and I'm shipping on Monday, what will it cost me? For USPS, this would be around $9.65, and this is using a Priority Mail cubic shipping rate, which is a commercial priced shipping rate. Again, like I said, if this is kind of a little bit Greek to you or you want to learn more about it, check out the other webinar. This would have cost you $14.40 at the post office, but again, you shouldn't be using the post office retail rates ever if you're a business owner or even a consumer. UPS will be $30. That's for 3-day select service from them. You might be able to get a ground service that gets it there in roughly the same time, but it won't be guaranteed. FedEx is going to be $31.13, so it's the most expensive. Now you could use a cheaper home delivery option with FedEx. It's not going to be guaranteed. It's going to take a couple more days over FedEx Express Saver, and it makes the price a little bit more competitive, at least for the post office retail cost. But still, I mean, it's 965 versus 30 versus 31. So the USPS really clearly wins at almost all these type of smaller e-commerce packages. And the cool thing is about this, like, USPS Party Mail Cubic option, which I encourage you to really investigate if you are doing a lot of online sales, is that it's dimensional based pricing. So it's not as important how much your box weighs. It actually doesn't matter up to 20 pounds. It's more about how big is the package. So even if you have a really small, heavy package, USPS Cubic could still be the best rate over other services. And the nice thing about Party Mail Cubic is as you start to sell more online and you start to get familiar with these rates, because the weight doesn't matter and you're always shipping out the same rate because you're always using the same boxes, you can really quickly start to anticipate and to plan how much your shipping costs are going to be on a weekly and a monthly basis. It's a very kind of static, very consistent type of pricing that makes just the cash planning around shipping a little bit easier to predict and to really understand. So that's why I would suggest, going into shipping school resources, learning more about USPS Party Mail Cubic, and optimizing this part of your business. It's going to be faster shipping for your customers, which we know is so important, and it's going to be a lot of savings for you on the bottom line. So step 5, we'll talk about growth here. So when you're launching a website and you're launching an online store, you've got two sets of audiences, right, from your brick and mortar. Your existing customers who you've had forever, and then you've got your new customers, the people who you can attract online that you never had been able to attract before. The main thing to think about when you're thinking about online sales and kind of really leveraging the brand that you've built so long through brick and mortar is that the more eyeballs you're gonna have on your website, the more sales you're gonna get. There's a lot of information that goes into growth and expanding your audience and kind of all these details. But the main thing is that you want to have as many people coming into your store, aka landing on your website, as possible. A couple kind of key things here. Number one is to optimize for search. SEO and search optimization in general, there's a lot of detail that goes into it. It's just as insane the amount of information that's out there on SEO. Fortunately, there's a lot of really easy ways to get a handle on it. The first one being using plugins like Yoast or All-in-One SEO. Both those are through WordPress. There's a lot of simple kind of SEO apps that you can use through Shopify, and all these kind of handle the nitty-gritty and the really difficult ways of structuring your data on your pages. And the way it looks for you in the back end is really simple. It's like a little field that you enter. Oh, here's my headline. Here's my meta description. Here's my focus keyword. Here is my keyword synonym. It'll be in a really simple kind of block format that you just basically type that information into, and then that plugin will optimize your page around that content. So make sure that as you're building your website, you're making it easy for people to find that website, and make sure you're following some really simple best practices there. There's social traffic. Now that you've built your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter, make sure you're going and you're liking and you're commenting on people's pictures, you're going under hashtags, and you're following people. The more engagement that you can do on social media, the more engagement you're going to get back. And you want to turn that engagement on your profiles to traffic on your website. You can be doing a lot of lead generation online too. So whether you're using like an email newsletter capture form, something like an opt-in monster, or any other plugin that offers that same thing, whether you're hosting giveaways and you're having people enter in the email to win the chance at a discount or a gift card or maybe a bunch of products or something, gather as many emails as you can. I would suggest on day one of launching your website, you've got an email capture form. Either it's a little pop-up or it's in your footer. It's some place for people to easily join your newsletter. That's a great way for you to keep in contact with them and to let them know what's going on with your store and where you're at with shipping. But it's also a really great way for you to extract new sales and to get more purchases coming through your website. And then, of course, there's paid advertising. Facebook, Google, all these paid advertising channels can be very, very, very powerful. At the same time, it's a lot of detail in there too. So you don't feel like you have to jump right into Facebook ads the minute you launch your website. Just know that that's there, and when you're ready to engage with the team or hire someone to do that for you, that can be an immensely valuable channel is paid advertising. The key idea of this section is that no matter what you sell, you can sell more online after one step. Just find your audience, know your niche. Going online doesn't mean that you're going to have the opportunity to sell to all 350 million Americans. That's not the approach you want to take. You don't want to say, well, my audience is all women. You want to narrow it down a lot more than that. So when you're thinking about growth in social media strategy and online sales and paid ads, think about your demographic. How old are they? What is their income level? What's their education level? What are their interests? What other stores do they like to shop at? Create a little mind graph of like, what does that customer look like? And when you have it in your head while you're working through the rest of these things, that's going to make you a lot more successful at each one of them. It's going to make your social media following more interested in what you're actually selling. It's going to make it a more targeted audience. If you're putting in the right search terms for what would your customer search for this type of product, your SEO is going to be better. And if you're using lead generation tools that are interesting and exciting to your types of customers, you're going to get better leads and you're going to get cheaper leads. So it's not just a matter of putting the stuff up online and just kind of, hoping someone buys stuff. What you want to do is make your entire site and your growth strategy targeted around a specific type of person, a specific type of shopper, or multiple types of people and multiple types of shoppers, not just everyone. There are a lot of free tools to help you with your website and with your advertising. Some of these I just want to point out to you really quick. MailChimp, Klaviyo, any of these big mass email systems, these are places that allow you to upload email addresses and you can send an email promotion to them. You've got to get on one of these. They integrate with almost every single platform. I don't think that MailChimp integrates with Shopify anymore, but most people do have an app that integrates with whatever platform you're going to use. And just having this set up is going to give you a lot of ammunition for sales, and it's going to be a lot of great resources that you can use in building your site. There's other tools like Unsplash, Pexels, Death to Stock Photos. These are all high quality photo depositories. They don't look like stock photos, but you can use them completely for free. They're 100% commercial free use of images. So you can use them for your Instagram posts. You can use them for your background images on your site. You can use them in your newsletters. There's no real reason for you to be spending a bunch of money on photos, especially if you are kind of cash crunched and just trying to get some online sales right away. I already mentioned these two, Yoast SEO and All-in-One SEO. These are just plugins that help you with SEO. There's a lot of different ones. I'd really encourage you to pop into some groups and like our shipping school group or SEO labs or anything like that. Ask people what are the best plugins they would suggest. Most plugins are free, and you can get kind of professional grade versions of them if you want to, but not required. And just having these free growth tools on your site and plugged into your site is a really great idea. Last on this thing is Google Analytics and Search Console. It's so important for you to get Google Analytics added to your website on day one. It's very, very simple to do. It doesn't take more than probably plugging in your Google Analytics Universal ID into your website, which Shopify and WordPress both have a very simple place where you just kind of copy and paste a code. And that's what that's going to do is going to be able to give you information about your shoppers. So it's going to take out demographic information. You're going to be able to see where, when, and who's on your site. What are the biggest referring people to your site? Where's the traffic coming from, in other words? And then as well as really drilling into what pages are people landing on, what pages are making people leave your website, what content is engaging in your site. Google Analytics is going to be able to look at all that and then give you a report on it. And I just mentioned this too, but Facebook groups are a huge help. I mean, coming into shipping school and just popping in and asking some questions, please feel encouraged to do that. You'll either get myself or maybe Rocky or another one of our team members to help you. And I think that the best part of online entrepreneurism and kind of this growth of online sales is that a lot of us are just starting out, or those things are changing so fast that we're all constantly learning that a lot of people will always be willing to help you. So don't be shy to ask a question. I will sometimes go to 3, 4, 5 different Facebook groups and ask the same question all 5 places and get 5 different sets of answers, or I won't get anything in 4 of them and I'll get a great answer in 1 of them. So I really encourage you to go and get some help online because we're here for you. Okay, so let's take a look at what we went over today. So what we learned really was around the kind of the nitty-gritty basic overview of just getting your brick and mortar online. Number 1, launching website. Making sure you get the basics done. You've got the custom domain, you've got your custom email, and most importantly, you're choosing a platform that is integrating with your POS or whatever you're currently using in your store. So inventory management and customer information is all in one place. We went through creating an online retail experience, mainly to point out that your store is already doing the heavy lifting. The brand colors, the floor plan, your principal displays, all of those things can be taken and be pulled online to create a cohesive online experience that is really driven from the same data and know-how that you've already been building into your brick and mortar store. We also went into online customer service. So remember, it's not about the product, it's about the service people are getting. That's what drives customer loyalty online, and that's what some of the biggest companies in the world do best, which is why they're the biggest companies in the world. And also, you don't got to spend a bunch of time doing this. There's really great tools and services that are out there that can speed up how you service customers online and how easy it is for them to service themselves, that you can save a ton of time. We went into shipping and inventory management. The main thing here is that shipping tools are the best. You can save a ton of money by using shipping tools. Do not pay retail prices. If you have small, heavy packages, there's special mail classes for that. If we got big, heavy packages, there's different, better shippers for that. Make sure your shipping and your inventory management is being connected the right way and you're using the right tools so you're saving money. It's faster for customers and it's easier for you. And then finally at the end, a little bit about growth, kind of how to concept and kind of work yourself around, well, who am I selling to? And then doing some simple things like setting yourself up for success, from installing Google Analytics to the right plugins, making sure your SEO is set up correctly, just to do some of the basic things to get yourself out there. So when you start doing paid ads or social media marketing or whatever it is, your website is set up for success. So thanks for joining. Obviously, that was a lot of information, like a ton of information. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop a question in the comments down below. We'll reply to you with some information. Please feel free to join us on Facebook. Feel free to join us on our website in general, join our newsletter. If you've got anything that you want to add or things that you thought were useful for you or secrets that you want to share with other business owners, please drop them in the comment section as well. We'll also be doing some other live webinars, so stay tuned for times when you can come and join a webinar with a live audience, ask your questions in real time, and kind of collaborate with all of us online. So thanks again for joining. If you guys got any questions, we look forward to answering for them, and have a great rest of your day.